Okay, today we're tackling an oil change on a 7.3 turbo diesel. We're going to be using 4 gallons of Rotella's T5 1030. We're using a royal purple oil filter, number 50-2286. Other items you'll need is an oil drain pan. You're going to need a filter, ratchet, a socket. The extension's optional, but it makes getting that drain plug out a little faster. And then we're using a universal 3-way oil filter wrench. You can get just a 1-piece cup. I use these for my diesels. So that's all you'll need to tackle this. So getting started. So before you drain your oil, take your vehicle for a couple of mile drive, get the oil nice and warm, and then go ahead and pull it in your garage or wherever you're working. Position your oil drain pan right under your oil pan, and you'll see that. Go ahead and point to the oil pan there, bud. And right in the center of it is the drain plug, and then the oil filter is right next to it. And all of this is right here by the front 4-wheel drive shaft if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Or if you don't, you'll see it's right behind the front cross member that the engine is bolted to. So go ahead and pull your oil drain plug. We're using a 19mm socket, but that could vary from what you may have. This is where the extension sometimes helps. Now while that's draining, if you have a big enough pan, you can drag your pan over so that the oil's just hitting the pan, and it'll also cover the area where the oil is going to come down out of the filter. Go ahead and slide that pan over, bud, over by the oil filter. And so while that's draining, we can go ahead and pull our oil filter as well. Once you get to a certain point, you should be able to spin it by hand. Now before you put on your new filter, something you want to verify. You'll see on the underside here we have that rubber ring, the rubber gasket. You want to make sure the old rubber gasket came off with the old filter. If the old gasket is still on the engine side and you put this on over top of it, you're going to have a bad leak and it's going to spray all over when you turn the truck on. So I'll show you here. So here we want to wipe this off where the oil filter goes. So there, once we wipe that off, we want to make sure we have a clean metal surface and the old gasket is not still on there. Once you've done that, just dip your finger in the old oil and just lightly run it right around the gasket of the new filter. So once we have a coat of oil on the new gasket, we're going to go ahead and screw this on. Once you have it on there as tight as you can by hand, you want to then tighten it another 1/4 turn with the wrench. You want to be a little careful here if you're using this style wrench. You don't want to crush the new filter. So once we have our new filter installed, we can then replace our drain plug once that's done dripping, and it looks like it is. But before you do that, inspect your drain plug. So you see here I have a white nylon gasket on there. Inspect that and see if that is still in good condition. You may have a rubber gasket on there. People over tighten these and destroy these gaskets, and then you'll have a leak. But once that's all checked out, go ahead and reinstall your drain plug. Okay, with the new filter on and the drain plug back in, we're now ready to fill the truck back up with oil. So right off to the left here, you'll see where you're going to place your oil. So go ahead and unscrew that cap counterclockwise. Go ahead and place your funnel in there. And now we're going to start filling up our oil. This is going to take about 4 gallons of oil. Something I actually forgot to do, and I should have mentioned it, but again, I didn't even remember to do it myself. It is also helpful to pre-fill your oil filter with oil. Pour oil into the filter before you reattach it. That'll prevent any chance of a dry fire when you start up the engine. Not absolutely necessary, but definitely makes things a little nicer. It's so cold out here, I guess my brain froze while I was doing that. You can see my breath. So once you have your 4 gallons of oil in there, we're going to go ahead and put the cap back on. And we're going to start the truck up. We're going to do a couple things here. Once we start the truck up, we're going to peek under here and see if we have any oil leaking from anywhere from the drip from the drain plug or the filter. And we're only going to let the truck run long enough to register on the oil pressure gauge. Hey bud, you look for leaks while I crank it up. Now as soon as the oil pressure gauge registers, I'm going to shut the truck off, and then we're going to pull the dipstick and check the level one more time. And this will only take a couple seconds. So you saw the gauge just now moved. So now we'll check the level again. So right here is where we put our oil. Right there is your dipstick. So we're going to pull the dipstick and check our fluid level now. So we're going to wipe it off before we check it. So on the dipstick, you're going to see these hash marks. We want to be right in the level of this hash section. So once we've wiped that clean, we're going to reinsert it and then check our level. Make sure you put that all the way down in there as far as it'll go. And we are right at the top of the hash, so that's fine. We're right where we need to be. So once you've verified your oil level is correct, you peeked underneath there with the truck running and saw you had no leaks, you are done. Now, my buddy recently got a quote from a local dealership to change his diesel oil for over $300. This will cost you roughly $120 between the filter and the oil, depending on what kind of oil and filter you are using. As you guys can see here, this is not a hard job. It's the same as changing the oil on a gas truck, but the dealership quite literally told my friend that the regular diesel technician wasn't in that day, and no other mechanic could do it. It had to be the diesel technician. They make it sound like it's a whole totally different separate process, and it is not. Get the product, do it yourself, save yourself a ton of money, and then you also know you're getting quality oil, not just the cheapest stuff the dealership decided to put in your vehicle. So I hope this video helped you out. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do that now. And always check back. I have a lot of OBS videos always coming. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.